All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Dom Monopolis, and today's video is going to be all teams for new players for 2025, beginning of 2025. We've had a change in one of the raid teams since my last video, so I figured it's time to update it. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like my stuff. And I'm going to show this on my main account just so there's no like gaps in some of the characters. I may not have everything unlocked or built or whatever. So I'm just going to show this on my main account. But what I'm doing here is as if I was starting this account today is how I'm going to phrase a lot of things, and then we'll extrapolate moving forward. But we can talk during the video. So let's go ahead and bring the account up. Let's go into the roster and bring up the old team. So you start with your raid teams, you start with your Rita teams. You start there, and then you build out from there. So the first team is Orcus. Safe to build. It's one of the newer raid teams. You can see I got them built up pretty high, but that's your tech raid team, and they're a good team too outside of raid team. So it's a good team to build up. Lady Deathstrike, I absolutely love. You could use her. You can still use her in arena, believe it or not, if you wanted to. And then you got Night Stalkers. That is your Mystic raid team. What I will say about this team is, as you move on further into the game and you get Mephisto and you get Odin, I know you're not going to have that early on, but when you do, some of these characters can come out. Moon Knight first, and then after that, like I even take Blade out for Odin and just sim. And all these teams that I'm showing you sim the highest level difficulties of the current raids, no problem. You can probably build them up a little bit smaller and manual through it if you have the time to do it. For me, it's just a quality of life issue. Just sim it and call it a day. Spider Society. Still a good team, but it is going to be one of the next teams replaced from Raid. I don't know how far along. We have no announcements on any of that. They are pulled from the Spotlight Raid now. They're no longer in it. I still would build this team up. It's still a good team, but just keep your eye on what's going to be coming moving forward. Eventually, this will be one of the first teams replaced out of Raid, and that includes the Bio team as well, which is your Hive Mind team. On my newest account that I started, or one of my new accounts that I started a couple months ago, I barely even built this team. Only thing I'm taking up is Void Knight, just because he's good for plug and play. And on this team, don't sweat Venom. As soon as you get Super Scroll, he immediately goes into this team and replaces Venom. Even though mine's kind of big there, that was a mistake. So Super Scroll does plug into that team eventually, so you could hold back on him. And here's one of the team that just got replaced. I know it's for this still has boosted for the Orcus raids, but if I were you as a new player, I am not building this team. I'm only taking up Nightcrawler because he's good for plug and play. But I'm not building this team anymore because there is a new mutant raid team, and I'm not building two different mutant raid teams for two different raids. So. For me, that's a no. And even on this team, Cyclops was immediately pulled out for Old Man Logan as soon as you got him. So to me, this team's a pass now. I'm just building up Nightcrawler. So and then we move on to Alpha Flight. So this is for the Spotlight 2. This is the first 2 nodes or anything you want. And then after that, you got to use Alpha Flight. You can see I already have Purple ISO 3 on this team. I don't like this team. I just had to build them for Raid. So not a big fan. This is big enough to sim everything everywhere, and it goes on War Defense and then gets beat by 4 members of Out of Time without Black Knight on War D, so that's awesome. But you got to build them up, so do it. And then we get into the new Mutant Raid team. This is needed for Spotlight. You can see I already have them all the way up on Purple ISO. This is a free-to-play account. I use cores on Herc and I use cores on Gene. Herc was released yesterday. But I cored them and I used my resources to just build them right on up. So I haven't really tested this team yet, but it's sim the first 2 difficulties, and I'm, maybe I'll have to put a 19 on somebody else or something. But this is the newest raid team that's being released at the moment of the recording of this video. So that's the new mutant raid team, and I would use this in the Orcus raids. And even if it doesn't perform the greatest, again, you plug Old Man Logan in there somewhere, and you'll probably mow right through it. So while we're at this is the Uncanny Avenger version of this team. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the 2 other versions right below it. So the next one is the Mighty Avenger team, the one right below it with Vision over here. This is the war version of this team. So it uses Herc plus 4 other characters. I haven't built them all the way up yet. I haven't tested them yet. Once I test them and see who's got to go up and what makes a difference against this counter and that counter, excuse me. Once I test some things out, then I'll figure out. This is kind of just like either what I had or what I built up for the raid team. So we'll go from there. But that is your war version of it, and then your next version of it is the Immortal X-Men, and that's your Crucible team. So I'm not a big Crucible person, but I understand that most people are. So this might be the first thing you bring up because you like Crucible. I know the world doesn't revolve around me. Most people love Crucible. So this is the Crucible version of it. And you can see a lot of stuff already brought up because of the raid team. So a couple more resources, and then you got the rest of this team built up, and then you go do Crucible. After that is technically your raid team, your Annihilator, or arena team. I'm sorry, your Annihilators. Now, Ultimus and Surfer get replaced real quick in arena, and even Thanos and Gladiator on offense are being replaced already by some different interesting comps that people are using. But still build your 3 core Annihilators. That's your Gladiator, your Gore, and your Egghead, your endgame Thanos, because you are going to need them for trials as well for the Shadow King trial. And there's still going to be a decent team. They got boosted stats. Anything Annihilators and on has boosted stats more than anything prior to it, with like a 30% stat boost. I brought up Ultimus and Surfer more as a mistake than anything, just to fill out the team. So they're really not priorities to bring up, but bring up the other 3. And then we get into, and this is alphabetical, so we got the Absolute A-Force and then regular A-Force. So Absolute A-Force, I haven't fully brought them up yet. I haven't tested them enough. I've been kind of busy, so I haven't gotten too crazy with testing them more. And plus, we have an event going on the 27th, is the new Kiln Tower or Kyle Tower or whatever it is, where we're going to have to use some of these characters at Purple ISO 3. I'm going to wait till that event starts, and I'm going to figure out which ones are the best to bring in it, and then I'll bring those characters up. So I'm actually waiting a little bit to bring them up. Kahori will be, she goes early, she goes multiple times, she gets the speed up on spawn. She's a good character for plug and play, and even on this team, Riri, Ironheart, she's getting replaced by Nico a lot on war offense. So I'm not 100% sure on who to build all the way up with the shit, and I'm going to wait until the tower comes out, and then I'll figure it out from there. But that is your Absolute A-Force. New characters, boosted stats, build them up. And then you got the regular A-Force. I still use this team. I know it's going to be, people are using Nico with Absolute A-Force to do some counters, and then Photons being used with Secret Defenders. So that not a lot of people use this team itself, and I wouldn't recommend building it now. Like, this isn't a team I would recommend to build up now, but I use that to take out like 3 million plus Bifrost in war and some weaker teams, just because my Spider Woman just mows the board with her special to start, but not a recommend to build. And then Astral, good old Astral for Battle World. I built him up because I'm a team player for my alliance. I don't really care about Battle World. I hope this new version that they come out with is, well, I don't think it could be worse, but you know what? Check that. I hope it's not worse, but it was just absolutely awful. I just built him up because to help my alliance, yay. So whatever. New characters, build them up. Sure. New stuff. Bifrost is a don't build now. If you want to build up your Vol, by all means, go ahead. You're going to have to build Loki up to some degree for the Old Man Logan, I think, trial with Cabal. So build him up a little bit, but the rest are a pass at this point. Bionic Avengers, it's a completely dead team. Iron Man's on Illuminati, and Vision's on one of the new Mighty Immortal something X Avenger. Black Order was the most dominant team in the game for a year. They're dead now. Brotherhood 2.0, again, dead team, and Magneto's moved on. Again, as reworks happen, maybe you got to build some of these characters up, but not for now. Cabal, build them up. You're going to use them for that. I think it's the Old Man Logan trial, and it's a great team. It works everywhere. Crucible War, just get ahead and go first and demolish. I use Zemo a lot with them to get an early crit. People use Proxima Midnight on her special to get an early crit to get them cooking. But they're a good team. Build them up. You won't worry about them. Supernatural or whatever they're called now. I can't remember. Dark Hunters. I still use this team to take out heroes for hire and war. Punches up very well, but yeah, don't build them. Darkhold team's been broken up. Scarlet Witch is on a different team. Agatha's on a raid team. Morgan Le Fay, that's my only 7 Red Horsemen because back in the day she was the best one. But a dead team. On my new account, all my horsemen are 3 yellow, and they get all the PvE content that I need done. Same thing with Death Seed. I use it to counter Death Seed in war. Not really a team you need to worry about bringing up anymore. It was an interesting team. You can see I never brought up my Eternals. So many people swore by Eternals forever, and they weren't wrong. They never filled out the rest of the team either, just because of how strong they were. Obviously faded now at this point, but they do have like a speed mechanic to them where they could rewind the other team, so you can use them to that effect. Although I wouldn't recommend doing them now as a brand new player. Gamma, again, dead team. People still do use it in war, but as a brand new player, no. Maybe Red Hulk if you want to bring them up, and you can see how far I brought him up. Guardians, Drax is a pre-taunting tank, so if you do want to use him for some interesting combinations, either in War and Crucible, again, it's not something I would recommend to hurry up and do, but he does have some use sometimes, but I would still say no. And same thing with Star-Lord. There's an interesting move where he has an energy dump. You use him next to Doom. He uses a special, dumps energy into Doom, and then Doom can ult one turn. I use that to. There's a war attack where I take out Nova's team if they do decide to put Nova's team on defense with Kang and blah blah blah. It's like a niche kind of thing, so I wouldn't even bother. And if you did want to bring up Star-Lord just a little to just get his special to do an energy dump, you could do it. It's smaller than that. Heroes for hire, again, it's another no team. At this point, there's no value in any of them anywhere. Red Skull Hydra, Zemo can have some use. He goes early, pops off. He can get a crit. He can clear deflex, get an early ability block. Again, he's not somebody I would focus hard on, but he does still have some niche uses, some plug and play uses. I still use him. So and at that level, does just fine. Illuminati. This is the free-to-play version of Illuminati. You're not going to find Captain Britain on my roster. This is good enough to get you the 7-star Shadow King. If you haven't seen my video, it's good enough to get you through. This is what this is the size that I use them on. I know they're not the smallest team, but this works. This was fine for me. So you're going to have to build them up to some degree. So build them up, and then there's still a decent Crucible team, and use them in war to take out some weaker stuff, or just toss them on defense or whatever. Infestation. Still can be annoying on war defense, but it's not a team I would bring up. If you want to use Big Time Spider-Man, you could see how far I brought him up. If you want to use Big Time Spider-Man as a plug-and-play weapon, he's a good plug-and-play weapon. I just don't have him on this roster. Me personally, I didn't, but I fully understand if people did want to invest the resources into him, because he is a Dark Diamond or Dark Promotion credit, so he is going to be a heavy investment to get up, especially as a new player. You got to make some decisions, but I can see him being a weapon. Infinity Watch has been kind of broken up, because now Moondragon's on Astral. Adam Warlock got a little bit of play during the last version of Battle World because it was broken, and his bleeds and extending bleeds and all that kind of stuff did stuff. I would wait to see what the new version of Battle World is before I invest anything into him. So no, dead team. Same thing with Inhumans. Inhumans is done for. Black Bolt's on a different team now. The rest of them don't even bother. I don't even remember what the name of this team is. Don't worry about them. Nowhere. You can see how much I invested into Nowhere. It is a war team. I am generally a war person, but this was during the year I didn't play, so I didn't bother. And I just brought up Nova, and I use Nova plug and play. I don't use the rest of his team. So for me, I still like Nova. I can understand if you don't want to bring him up now at this point in the game, but I still like Trauma Stun. I still like him. So I did. Marauders. Nope. Sinister, we all thought was power creep proof forever because he clones. So whatever you put on the other side, he would just clone it. But eventually Sinister went down, and at this point, there's nobody there to really build. MOE. I did not build, but I could see where Titania or Multiple Man could be nice plug and play options. Kang obviously is a nice plug and play option everywhere, and Moon Knight or Moon something over there. She's got some decent damage, and she goes early. So everyone except Ultron, maybe. I have that built up from 5 years ago with Ultron, but I skipped that team. I could see if you are a Crucible team person, it is definitely faded at this point when power crept, but there's some plug and play options out of that team if you want to pick a couple out. Then we got the good old Mercs for Money. This team is big enough to get you your 7-star Shadow King, and there are some tricks to getting through that node too. If you plug in Hela for somebody, if you charge up Deathpool's ult and one-shot the Weaver, there's some ways through it without it being this big, but this was big enough to get me a 7-star Shadow King, and fairly easily too. Not easy, but I could have done it with less, put it that way, with more resets. New Avengers, this is big enough to get yourself the 7-star Green Goblin Classic. That's as high as I built them. I was hoping they would eventually change that requirement, but this is big enough to get you through. That's as high as I built them. Let's see, New Warriors, the faded Crucible team. I wouldn't even bother, and plus Deathpool's on a different team, so I wouldn't bother with this team. I loved Cloak and Dagger forever, but they're done. Out of time. You got to build up for one of, I think it's Old Man Logan. I think is them, or one of them is the legendaries is them. It's all about Black Knight. That was big enough to get the 7-star. So good enough. Yeah, Old Man Logan. I think, I don't know, one of them. But that was big enough to get the 7-star version. It's all about Black Knight. Just bring up Black Knight. And the other 4, if you do want to bring them up bigger, we'll take out Alpha Flight on War Defense. Just the 4 of them with no Black Knight. And then you could plug Black Knight in somewhere else. So, great War D team. Pegasus, team's done for. Kestrel. Kestrel is MSF original, so even if she does fade, they'll find a way to rework her in somewhere. So build up your Kestrel. Pimtech, broken up at this point. You can see I never really built them. Wasp is on absolute A-Force, so don't worry about Pimtech. Ravengers, you can see my big old Stitcher over there. Now, if you're a new player, do not bring up Stitcher. If you're a veteran player and you don't have Stitcher built up, don't bring up Stitcher. I love Stitcher. I've used them in every single Dark Dimension everywhere. Generally, the Cosmic section of Dark Dimensions have really strong characters going into it, so you could use a cheapie like Stitcher in there to help you get through quicker. This is for new Dark Dimensions. It doesn't matter on older ones. I'm not bringing him up to do an old Dark Dimension, but for newer ones, it gets me through quicker with less gear. So I'm Stitcher for life. I love Stitcher. If I got a legendary Taserface, if they would ever do that for this game, maybe I'd put money in this game for the first time in 6 years. But that's just me. Don't build Stitcher. I love Stitcher. Rebirth. This is big enough to get yourself the 7-star Green Goblin Classic. I think that's the one for this. On my other account, I actually did it with Union Jack or Jack, whatever, whoever the hell he is, at level 1. And Agent Venom at level 54, I think, just to get the attack boost. And the rest looked exactly like this, at I think, like 15% start tech, too. So it's a completely dead team. Don't build it. But the Captain America and Captain Carter are used on out of time. And this is what I use to get 7-star versions of Old Man Logan and for Green Goblin Classic. So you don't even need to really build up the rest. Winter Soldier will actually kind of get you through a little bit. Secret Avengers, I hear there's some rework coming with them, but until you actually get like more information or more data and or whatever, something with Cap Sam I think is supposedly coming somewhere down the road. But again, until I see stuff, until I actually see it implemented in the game, because there's what they plan to do, what and then what actually happens in Battle World. So you never know. I wouldn't. Just keep your eye out, I guess. Secret Defenders, again, Doctor Strange is on Astral now. Photon is technically on A-Force, but I would probably use her here as a new player. They're still a good team. They still do things. They still manipulate speed. They still know Spawn with Revive for Black Cat. She still has Trauma Stun. It's still a different, decent team. I don't know if I would focus on them hard early, but still a good team. Still use them all the time. Shadowland, nope. It's been It's been broken up with Moon Knight, even though he doesn't really even make his own team. But that's a no. Sinister slash Superior Six. You can see there's a couple different. They kind of grouped them all together here. The top team. That's what I use everywhere for everything. This is probably my favorite pre-Annihilator team because they have control with Mysterio and Vulture with the rewinding and the mass blinding and everything that this team does. This team destroys so much PvE content and some PvP content too. Like they really do punch up really well. This is my favorite version of this team. I think they're absolutely fantastic. You can see by the purple ISOs on some of these characters that I'm using them on Dark Dimensions, on Dark Dimension 7, Dark Dimension 8. I still love this team. They punch up huge. They do great work, and it's an early team that you're going to be able to unlock. It's going to clear a lot of content for you. I highly suggest, even at that power level, I'm still only 2 point only. For me, that's a smaller team, and they do just do see great, so great. And you can see my Mysterio is G16. I use that at level 85 G16. I use that in DD8. There's no gear requirement for DD8, only an ISO requirement. So that's how Mysterio. And you can see I built up Lizard too. Sure, he's Crucible and stuff like that. Sure, but at the top version of this team, that's my version. That's what I'm voting for. And you got Tangled. Obviously, they're Weaver. You can see I used her in DD8. Didn't really go so well. It was brilliant. But Noir is a plug and play option. So even after Spider Society dies, he's going to be used plug and play outside of that team. And the other Spider dude, he speeds up Weaver, so he works fantastic at that level. I don't care if he dies or not. He goes first. He speeds up Weaver, and that's the whole team. But Tangled's not really being used anymore, so don't sweat that. Even though I still do like Weaver. It's fading. Underworld still works in war. Still counters a bunch of stuff. I know people are using it against like Night Stalkers, and I'm not. Even as a war person, I'm just not building them up. I'm just not doing it. Sorry. But that's me. But that is still a viable war team on the border. I don't know. And then you got Undead over here, Undying. These are Juggernaut. You still can't get Zombie Scarlet Witch. You still can't get. They're vaulted characters. And you can see where I leave vaulted characters. If you do have access to them, and if you are someone that's going to be purchasing and spending, by all means, go ahead. They destroy everything in war. I don't put my hands in anybody else's wallet. You do what you want to do. For me, they're vaulted to the bottom of my roster. And then you got old Unlimited X-Men. You can see that it's pretty much broken up at this point. Rogue, you still can use as a plug-and-play option for Crucible if you want, or for War. I really wouldn't focus too much on the Horseman, to be honest, but and then Sunfire goes on Alpha Flight or whatever, but I wouldn't even bother building most of this up, obviously, Sunfire, but then War Dog. War Dog's still the same thing with like Underworld, kind of like it's if you build them up big enough, they still will work in war. They go first, and you got to have enough damage to get through whatever you're getting through. But it's not something I'm building now. Old School Avengers. I don't even know why I put this. Oh, Hawkeye. Hawkeye can rewind speed, so it doesn't really matter what size he is. He has speed manipulation. So I think it's 131 speed he has, or somewhere around there. So if he's faster than everybody else, he could rewind the other side as plug and play into some other team, and you could use him there. Weapon X, I still use Weapon X, but my understanding is there's going to be a rework with Phoenix that involves Omega Red. I love Omega Red. The last video that I made, I didn't recommend building him because there was really not too much to do with them because of the introduction of Old Man Logan. I loved Omega Red for Dark Dimensions because he has 20% or a 10% drain on his basic. So if he has a striker attack, he's basically clearing 20% of their health away. And in Dark Dimension, that could be millions and millions of hit points that he could take down. But since Old Man Logan came out, any legendary content, Old Man Logan just destroys it. So I was kind of shying away from a little bit, but keep an eye. It's not really announced yet, but keep an eye on a Phoenix rework that involves Omega Red, and then go from there. So for now, just keep an eye on it. Web Warriors, nope, dead team, goodbye. Dad Bros. Nope, not anymore. Polaris has been moved. Longshot and Shatterstar were some of my favorites. I used Longshot in Dark Dimension. It wasn't the most brilliant idea, but I loved it. X Force again broken up at this point. Cable's gone. X-23 is gone. So don't worry about the rest of them. And Deadpool's on another team. Young Avengers. I used to love this team. Was a great team. Then we'll get into but no, that's a no. America Chavez, there we go. That's why I put them up there. America Chavez gives a 25% speed boost to the people around her on war defense, onto the people on each side. So she can be used, especially a lot of new players don't know that. You could use that to kind of take somebody by surprise, and it'll speed up, the two characters to, all of a sudden, oh, why am I not going first? It's because of America Chavez hiding back there. So she can be used a little bit as a weapon. I would still do that. And we got the plug and play characters. Most of these are Dark Dimension characters, but obviously Build Scroll. APOC I would get as soon as humanly possible. That would be my approach to starting this game. Get your raid teams, get your rain team. Use as many of those characters as you can in the APOC saga, with some other characters, obviously, build the meta stuff. But I would get APOC as soon as possible. He is still viable everywhere for everything, including Arena. So Mephisto, obviously, go get a Mephisto. Odin, I'll have at 7-star soon if I could ever remember to do his second run. Quicksilver, this is the one where I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to disagree with me. I love me some Quicksilver. Single target damage. I love single target damage. He goes twice. He goes fast. I use him, and you could see I used him in all the Dark Dimensions. I use him everywhere, but he's very expensive to build, and that's why a person like me has big time Spider-Man down at the bottom, because same thing, dark promotion credits, Dark Diamond credits, Crucible credits to get this guy up, So he's not a cheap thing to build, but to me, I love him. I understand if you don't want to do it. I understand if you disagree with me about building him. But I love me some Quicksilver, so I built him. That's just my opinion. And then after that, we got Phoenix. I put that on there because supposedly there is a rework coming, so keep an eye on it. And then Dormammu and Doom. A lot of people are going to tell you, no, don't build them now. I still see some plug-and-play use out of them. Dormammu gives you revives, and Doom can take somebody for a ride and give them multiple turns. So not that I wouldn't say build them up as high as I have them, but I wouldn't say no to them now. Like if you got go, I still like them. I do. That's just me, but I could totally understand if you don't want to build them at this point. But that's pretty much it, guys. That's every team. I skipped a couple teams because they're completely like Asgardian. I skipped a couple useless teams, but figured I'd update this. We got some new stuff out, and I hope this helps. So as always, I love you guys, and I'm out.